Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So very soon, few hours from now, we are gonna get the week 4 final meta of the current Battlegrounds season. And week 4 is going to be quite interesting meta because it definitely puts on a lot of restrictions in the deck building and especially in a few certain classes, which I didn't necessarily realize earlier, but it's gonna make for some interesting playing. So we have Backblast. The attacker's critical damage rating is doubled. I actually have a error here in the description. It's meant to be critical damage rating, not critical rating. So you're not going to be critting more often, but your crits are going to be hitting harder. So, the attacker's critical damage rating is doubled. However, if the damage from the critical hit exceeds 5% of the defender's max health, the attacker lands 4 or more guaranteed crits throughout the fight, the attacker suffers from an incinerate debuff, dealing damage equal to their last crit over 5 seconds. And this incinerate can be absolutely devastating if you land a big crit. Additionally, we have Hot and Bothered. You will lose your defensive ability accuracy by 80% if you have incinerate debuff on you. And then finally, the note that kind of throws everybody for a loop here is high energy die. The defender has 99% energy resistance, and any hit that deals energy damage regenerates them for what the damage would have been. While the defender is affected by an Incinerate, Shock, or Cold Snap debuff, the defender gains 100% of a bar power every 10 seconds. So, basically, energy damage and energy damage over time effect are a no-no. So, what will and will not work? Well, obviously, I do think that there is a very reasonable chance that many champions that do not have super high damage on their base hits will work just fine. Like, I do think that Spot and Overseer would potentially work, or maybe Yellow Jacket and potentially Scorpion. Effectively, champions that don't hit too hard, but it is definitely going to take quite a lot of experimentation. So I can't really say for sure on those champions. But there are some that I do think will definitely work, like Anti-Venom, for instance. Anti-Venom is Incinerate immune to begin with, so that's awesome. So he has 0 drawback from that high energy, from the Backblast node. And all of the other nodes are effectively relevant to him because he only gets doubled critical damage rating, which is, quite sweet. He doesn't have the highest critical damage rating anyways. But all of his damage is physical. All of his attacks are contact physical. And there's nothing for him to worry about. So Anti-Venom is definitely going to be a very solid option. Now, we need to talk about Human Torch. I am not sure how well Human Torch will work, but I do suspect that he will do just fine. Even though all of his attacks are energy, obviously, and opponents have massive energy resistance as well, I do think that his Nova Flame together with his temperature and his heat charges will bypass that. Additionally, Human Torch also can reverse and mitigate opponents' healing. So I do think when you're going to be hitting the opponent, they're not going to be taking too much damage, but whatever they're going to be trying to heal back, you could potentially reverse as well. So I'm not saying that Human Torch will work. I'm saying that I will definitely try Human Torch out and figure out whether Human Torch works, because I do have a suspicion that he will do just fine. Then moving forward, we have Red Hulk, obviously pseudo Incinerate immune. If anything, you do want to hit hard enough to get extra Incinerates on you. And all of his bursts of damage are physical bursts, and the rest of the kit does not involve any energy damage at all. It's all purely physical. So Red Hulk, yet again, is going to be a solid option. Mr. Fantastic is definitely going to work as well, as far as I can tell, in between his synergy with Inequity, reducing opponent's attack, on top of his pre-fight abilities, which one of them reduce the incoming damage over time debuffs by 25%. So when you do ramp him up, that's going to be 75%, on top of the fact that he doesn't necessarily hit or crit too hard. I do think that Mr. Fantastic will get away from this just fine, and he will be usable. Void is obviously going to be a very solid option. He's Incinerate immune. He does have some energy attacks, but again, as I said, in between his level 1s and level 2s being energy, you do how petrifies that will reverse any damage that you do. Plus, obviously, with Void, you will be doing damage over time as well. So yeah, I do think Void will do just fine. Then moving on to skill class, I do think that Kitty likely going to be quite decent. Purely because of her ability accuracy reduction, because ability accuracy reduction does bypass Backblast. So champions like Kitty, she doesn't, sorry, not Kitty, Black Cat. She doesn't hit too hard to begin with, and if you do drop that big level 2 at that point, you will have close to or 100% reduced ability accuracy for opponents, so you should not have any bad consequences there. I think Crossbones is going to do just fine. I think Crossbones is going to do very well. Then we have Kingpin, who should work just fine as well with his debuff shrug. So basically, you can get around Backblast with ability accuracy reduction. I think Falcon is going to do that absolutely excellently. Or obviously debuff shrug. Shang-Chi should be doing insanely well because of the doubled critical damage rating. I also do not think that Black Blast will trigger through block, so Valkyrie should be safe as well. And then we have Mutant class. Archangel is obviously going to do Archangel things. Archangel's back in the decks, everybody. Out of all the mutants, in theory, Colossus is kind of like the most suitable for this because obviously all of your damage is contact physical, so you don't have anything to worry about there. And he's Incinerate immune on top of the fact whenever you would be incinerated, you have a chance to get an armor up that's ramp up quicker. So Colossus could potentially be a decent option. Kitty is probably going to be permabanned because only thing these nodes will do is let her ramp up quicker. Also quite interesting that her level 2 is in fact contact physical as well, so her main source of damage is going to be safe. So there we go. So Kitty will do just fine. And I do think that Omega Red will also work well because he doesn't really do any damage on or much damage on his base. That needs to be tested, but I do think he's going to be just fine. Moving on to tech class, permaban this lady. This lady should be permabanned because with Backblast, she's just crazy. There's not much else to say. She's going to get incinerated when she crits, then you just dash back, convert that incinerate into a fury, rinse and repeat, and how continuously crazy amount of damage on throughout the entire fight. Ghost is going to be absolutely broken because of Backblast. Vulture might be an interesting hidden pony here, because with Vulture, obviously, you do have the Incinerate immunity, and also, if you avoid a debuff due to an immunity, you gain 100 charges, and your level 2 is all physical. Well, your level 1 and level 2 is all physical as well. I'm not entirely sure how will his direct or power burn damage going to come from his debuffs, other than with the direct proportional ones. Yeah, so I think Vulture is going to work quite well, but yeah, he's Incinerate immune, he's going to get double the critical damage rating, and he has one of the highest critical damage ratings in the game to begin with, so he could potentially be hitting significantly harder, and obviously he doesn't have anything that gimps his damage. I think 200 Ultron should work okay, and only reason I'm mentioning it is because of Domino. We're not going to have too many great Domino counters, I think, and Sig 200 Ultron could potentially be one of the very few great options for Domino. We'll see how that works out, but yeah, because it's always important to know your Domino counters before meta starts. And then we have Penny Parker. Now, with Penny Parker, it's going to be interesting to see because her level 2 is, in fact, and level 1 is also contact physical. Now, obviously, at the end of the level 2, she inflicts incinerates that will let opponent gain power and all that other stuff. But her damage itself, is coming from contact physical. However, there is the energy damage aspect of her level 2, so I'm not sure how she will work. I'm a bit skeptical, so I'm probably going to cross her out. Good? Probably not. Now, in Cosmic class, we have Angela, obviously, at a high Sig, she's basically immune to all damage or time effects. Angela should be working quite well, especially if you do get past 2 bars of power, or use your heavy attacks, you're going to get a whole bunch of critical rating. And with doubled critical damage rating and those furies, you should be doing quite significant amount of damage. And Nihilus should actually be working quite well. He is, in fact, Incinerate immune as well. And most of his damage is coming as contact physical. Yes, his level 2 is energy projectiles, but you still get those massive furies from that level 2 that could let you capitalize quite well. So Annihilus is interesting consideration. Captain Marvel movie is going to be bonkers for this because you're going to get Incinerate on you, and that Incinerate is going to get you to your binary super quick. And then you're going to purify that Incinerate, and you're going to be indestructible. 2 more Incinerates, and you're probably going to be able to nuke stuff down quite efficiently with Captain Marvel. I do remember her being quite effective on Backblast and energy adoption nodes and stuff like that. Now we have Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer, again, should work quite well. Obviously, he's not going to be taking any Incinerate damage. The problem is that his bursts of damage are going to be energy. So we're going to see, but again, with increased critical damage rating, plus having effectively an extra buff active on him, he should be able to do quite significant amount of damage. And in Mystic class is going to be absolutely robbed. I do want to show that because Mystic class really doesn't have much going on for this meta. Because as we know, number one, most of the Mystics, or significant portion of the Mystics, are all energy damage. Like Black Widow, Clairvoyant, everything's energy. You know, we have Doctor Doom, everything's energy. Diablo, everything's energy, so on and so forth. So, significant portion of Mystics are all energy damage, and very few of them are Incinerate immune. And so, yeah, for instance, like Absorbing Man, yes, you can be Incinerate immune if you enter your Magma form, but then all of your base damage is energy, and then opponent takes no damage. So, Mystic is definitely going to struggle. From what I can tell, there should be about 3, possibly a few more champions that do decent. I do think that Tigra will be able to nuke down opponents fast enough. Because most of Tigra's damage comes from raptures and bursts of rapture, and her hit damage is relatively tiny. And I do think she could potentially work. And then obviously, you know, everything around her kit is physical damage, not energy damage. So maybe she will work. The champion that I do think will do well is Diablo. Because even though all of Diablo's attacks are energy damage, he inflicts poison, and that's like where 90% of his damage comes, or a significant portion of his damage comes anyways. And not only that reduces opponent's ability to heal, but obviously, you know, him not hitting hard enough will likely mean that you will not trigger the Backblast, so you will not get incinerated, and then you're just going to drop your level 3 and finish off the fight. So I do think that Diablo is going to probably work as one of the few Mystic champions, and then I also think Mojo is going to do quite well. Because Mojo does have, you know, base kit as physical damage, aside from level 2. Level 2 is obviously going to be a bit gimped in damage terms. But then, again, significant portion of Mojo's damage can come from Degens, which is not classed as energy damage. So I do think that Mojo, Diablo, and possibly Tiger. Other than that, it is going to be very interesting to see if any other Mystic champions work well offensively. And yeah, we're gonna have to see that one. Maybe Rintra? No, level 2 is energy projectile. Don't think that will work. Could, but his bullets are energy. Yeah, man, I think Mystic Glass are kind of screwed. Maybe Ebony Maw. Oh no, wait. All of his kits are energy. Yeah, never mind. Ebony Maw. Never mind. Get back to it. So yeah, I really don't know. Aside from those 3 Mystics, who else is going to work in Mystic Glass? So, with Mystics not being quite, you know, busy, I think we might see more Cosmic Defenders pop up. And that, again, is going to make it interesting. So I do think we're going to see more stuff like Annihiluses, Circes, and whatnot running around. So I do think it is going to be quite a tricky meta. Let me know what you guys think, and I will catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information